We live on a planet haunted by ghosts. Ghosts of animals that lived millions of years ago. Forever lost to our eyes, they come from below the earth, their stories locked within the sands of time, and their diversity bringing us closer to understanding their lives. And of all the wondrous forms that have wandered this planet, one particular family of creatures has continued to inspire, terrify, and excite us to this very day. They lived in a world very different from our own, and yet governed it through a rule that remains with nature today: kill or be killed. Some were dreaded killers, while others were gentle giants. Some were smaller than chickens, while others were the largest land animals to ever exist. Some were decorated in strange ornaments, whether it be on their heads, bodies, or tails. Some lived in herds, others stuck it out alone. And some cared for their young. But no matter how they were shaped or sized, or how they behaved, one thing is certain. They ruled the earth for over 160 million years as the unchallenged lords of the planet. And even now, we still debate as to how they died out. We call them the dinosaurs. Our history with these ancient beasts goes back nearly 4 centuries. The first fossils were discovered in 1676 by Sir Thomas Pennison, who then gave the fossils to Robert Plot, a chemistry teacher at the University of Oxford, England. The bones were believed to have belonged to mythological giants. In 1822, the first formally discovered dinosaur bones were found by English geologist Dr. Gideon Mantell. In 1824, the bones discovered in 1676 were scientifically described to be from Megalosaurus bucklandi, named after William Buckland. And 17 years later, in 1841, the term dinosaur was coined by English biologist Sir Richard Owen, meaning terrible lizard in Greek. Ever since then, dinosaurs have become prehistory superstars. Fossils have been displayed in museums around the world to show people their majesty and power. Toys, t-shirts, and products of all kinds have included them in their honor. From movies like King Kong and Jurassic Park, to books such as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, and to video games like Primal Carnage, dinosaurs have made themselves known as pop culture's greatest living monsters. And documentaries like Walking with Dinosaurs and Dinosaur Planet show their other, more natural side as nature's greatest success stories. For the very little time that we have known about them, we have discovered an awful lot about dinosaurs, and we seem to know everything about them. Or do we? Over the past few decades, we have made groundbreaking leaps in our knowledge of these majestic animals, and from these new discoveries, we have a better picture about their world and their lives. This series will catalog those discoveries, presenting an incredible view of the Mesozoic era, based on the latest scientific hypotheses, taking you on a journey through time and showcasing the history of these incredible animals, from their rise to world domination to their devastating end. Now, for the first time in 65 million years, witness the Mesozoic era like never before, and witness Dinosaurs Unleashed. The dinosaurs first appeared on the planet 230 million years ago. But to truly understand their place in the history of life on Earth, we'll have to go to the very beginning. Back to a time when the Earth was a very different place. Over 4 billion years ago, our Earth was without life, bombarded by acid rain and fueled by volcanoes. But over time, the planet cooled, oceans formed, and life, starting with bacteria, populated the planet. Because the land remained inhospitable, the first multi-celled organisms originated here in the oceans. Some were the ancestors of today's insects and spiders, while others would develop backbones and be the ancestors to all mammals, reptiles, fish, and dinosaurs. As time went on, the oceans became even more diverse, with the first corals appearing at this time. The seas were dominated by a variety of sponges, algae, and bryozoans. These provided shelter and food for an array of aquatic animals, like these trilobites. These peculiar invertebrates in turn provided food for orthocones, large cephalopods related to squids and octopuses. Soon the first true fish appeared in the seas. Some, like this Dunkleosteus, were predators. Eventually, the land was colonized by plants, which gave out oxygen, making the planet habitable. Fish, in particular, developed lungs, and made their first crucial steps onto dry land, evolving into amphibians. In time, oxygen and carbon dioxide levels reached incredible levels, allowing for great forests to emerge. On the forest floors, giant predatory amphibians hunted unsuspecting prey. But the real stars of this time were the arthropods. Within these forests, giant millipedes like Arthropleura crawled on the ground, and Meganeura, a dragonfly with a wingspan the length of an eagle's, hunted in the skies. But the glory days of these massive invertebrates were not to last, and soon the climate became cool and dry. These unique conditions in the environment ushered in the diversification of a new group of animals: the reptiles. Although most of these new inhabitants are closely related to modern-day turtles, lizards, and snakes, a few very remarkable reptiles developed features that would make them closer in relation to mammals. Effectively, this made them mammal-like reptiles. These reptiles included the herbivorous Edaphosaurus and the predatory Dimetrodon. Along with them were even ancestors to the dinosaurs. Whatever legacy they would carry with them, the reptiles as a whole thrived in this new world. But as it always does, the planet will change, and the fate of these unique creatures will be decided by a single catastrophic event. A mere 20 million years before the first dinosaur set foot on the Earth, life is in its darkest hour. Once the apex predator of this land, this Inostransiva must now scavenge to survive. And even that's not without its risks. Beginning about 250 million years ago, possibly due to extreme volcanic activity, the Permian mass extinction brought about the near total annihilation of all life on Earth. 97% of all species were wiped out. But remarkably, the Earth eventually recovered, and out of the ashes, life bounced back. It's the Triassic period. As of now, the world's continents have joined together to form one giant supercontinent called Pangaea. In the 25 million years since the Permian mass extinction, evolution has helped create a variety of weird and wonderful new beasts to inhabit the Earth. And among these denizens of the planet is a small but remarkable group that, in time, will become the rulers of the world. The dinosaurs. Our story begins here, at a local watering hole. It provides nutrients for an abundance of animals, and it also happens to be the favored hunting ground of this small dinosaur. This is Iris, a female Staurikosaurus, one of the earliest dinosaurs to evolve. At 2.25 meters long and around 30 kilograms, she is small, lightweight, and agile. These are Stahleckeria, large, pig-like herbivores that are in fact descendants of the Permian mammal-like reptiles. They belong to a particular group of mammal-like reptiles called Dicynodonts, and their most distinctive feature are their long tusks, which help dig up roots from the ground. Iris is too small to pose any real danger to these 400-pound beasts. The scene looks peaceful, but not all is what it seems. The attacker is a Temnospondyl, a type of large, predatory amphibian. Like the Stahleckeria, his kind are relics from the Permian, and are now a rare sight in the Triassic. He may be carnivorous, but this amphibian is nothing compared to the true monsters that rule this world. Having quenched her thirst, Iris goes on the hunt for prey. A peculiar animal catches her eye. This bizarre creature is a 3-meter-long Polesinesuchus, an Etosaur. Covered in thick armor and sporting protective spines, this female seems vicious. But in truth, she is a peaceful plant eater, using her pig-like snout to uproot tubers, and sometimes insect larvae. Like the Stahleckeria, she is too big for Iris to hunt. But she has very good reason to be this well armored. A carnivorous Ornithosuchian approaches. Because of her armor, Polesinesuchus is slow and cumbersome. To support her weight, her legs stretch out to the sides of her body, much like modern-day lizards. By contrast, Iris and other early dinosaurs have their legs remain straight underneath their bodies. And all for the better. In spite of their stark differences, dinosaurs like Staurikosaurus, Etosaurs like Polesinesuchus, and Ornithosuchians are all diapsids. To put this idea into perspective, all terrestrial vertebrates are divided into 3 groups: anapsids, synapsids, and diapsids. Anapsids are characterized by their lack of temporal openings in their skulls. Today, turtles are the only living anapsids. Synapsids are characterized by having 1 temporal opening. Amazingly, this is what helps relate us to creatures like Dimetrodon from the Permian. Today, all living mammals, including us, are synapsids. Diapsids, where dinosaurs, Etosaurs, and Ornithosuchians are a part of, have 2 temporal openings. In modern times, all other reptiles, like snakes, lizards, and crocodiles, are diapsids. So you might think that technically, dinosaurs are lizards since they are both diapsids. Well, that's not 100% true. Dinosaurs are archosaurs, a group that doesn't include snakes or lizards, but does include crocodiles and alligators. Both of these groups evolved from a common ancestor, but the true ancestors of the dinosaurs evolved on a different path than modern-day crocodilians. The oldest of these ancestors was the Silosaurus kongwi, a creature that lived in present-day Tanzania around 245 million years ago. Like true dinosaurs, its hip bone helped position its legs straight underneath its body, allowing it to become faster on land. Its teeth indicate that it ate small insects and reptiles, which would have required speed to catch. These traits would be passed on to the earliest dinosaurs, as well as other archosaurs. Ornithosuchians also developed this leg posture. They were bigger and stronger than the first dinosaurs, so they were better hunters of larger prey. But even they weren't the top predators of the Triassic period. In the late afternoon, the Stahleckeria leave the waterhole to feed. As well as for foraging, the tusks of these herbivores can be used as lethal weapons. But this doesn't make them invulnerable from attack. The Stahleckeria may be badly wounded, but the predator won't risk injury trying to finish it off. Now, it's a matter of following the blood trail. Exhausted from his injury, the herbivore has since collapsed, and the predator eats him alive. The hunter is a 6.7 meter long Prestosuchus, the biggest carnivore to rule Triassic Brazil. Prestosuchus belongs to a group of archosaurs called Rauisuchians. This family of elite predators were the apex carnivores of their day. Like the dinosaurs, Rauisuchians had straight legs underneath their bellies, but they also had size and power on their side. They outmatched the early dinosaurs in almost every category, with speed as the only exception. We will know this Prestosuchus as Scarface. He bears the marks of a hard, violent life. Nevertheless, he rules this land with an iron fist. Until the day he dies, Iris and her kin are not safe from this predator. As the sun sets, one type of animal prepares for a night of hunting. This is a female Chiniquodon. She is part of a group of mammal-like reptiles called cynodonts, the ancestors to all mammals. Remarkably, she has fur like true mammals, but like a reptile, she lays eggs. Her maternal instincts forced her to stay with her offspring. So, to be properly fed, she relies on her mate to find food for her. The It's a partnership that lasts for life and helps give their offspring a stronger chance of survival in this dangerous world. The next day, the sun becomes unrelenting. In the lake, the Temnospondyl remains vigilant for prey. A battle could be lethal for the amphibian. But fortunately, Scarface isn't hungry, just thirsty. Evening. A trio of Staurikosaurus socialize as the day ends. All three are bachelor males. At a certain age, male Staurikosaurus leave their parents to join other males until they find a mate. These groups don't normally cooperate in hunting for food. But when under threat, these gangs unite as one to confront the enemy. Elsewhere, the male Chiniquodon begins his usual nighttime hunting early. He finds Iris, who is searching for small animals in the undergrowth. Her presence is a threat to the Synopsis family. Scarface appears, also looking for an evening meal. In the cool of the morning, the Polesinesuchus forages for succulent plants. Nearby is Iris, who decided to sleep close to the armored giant for protection. However, she is being watched, but not by a predator. One of the male Staurikosaurus from the trio found her during the night. It has been over 12 hours, and still the male Chiniquodon has yet to come home to his mate. Her hunger grows with every hour, but her maternal instincts keep her from leaving her offspring. A pair of Staurikosaurus approach the nest. Nearby, the Stahleckeria begin their morning grazing. As usual, Scarface stalks the herd. As the night sets in, the female Chiniquodon realizes that her mate isn't coming back. Weary from hunger, she has only one option left. In the darkness, she seizes her opportunity and abandons the nest. A few days later, Scarface lies weakened on the beach. His injury has made it difficult to walk and hunt. Shadowing him are his former subordinates, the Staurikosaurus. Now, the predator will become the prey. It has been a week since the female Chiniquodon abandoned her old nest. She has now found a new mate and is once again pregnant. For this little animal, life seems to have given her a second chance in motherhood. But not everyone is so lucky. Lying dead and rotting on the beach is Scarface. His reign over this land is finished, and now his body will be left to the elements. Eventually, sediments from the lake will cover his body, and as his skin and flesh decays, his bones will be preserved as fossils, waiting to be discovered 225 million years later. In spite of their size and power, Rauisuchids like Prestosuchus were not meant to last. Around 30 million years after dinosaurs first appeared, Pangea began to break up, causing extreme volcanic activity that brought chaos to Earth, bringing the curtain down on the Triassic period. An estimated 60% of species were wiped out of existence, including many prominent Triassic families. Rauisuchians, Dinosaurs, Ornithosuchians, and other archosaurs vanished forever. Joining them would be the Dinosaurs, unable to adapt to a changing planet. That is the way of biological evolution after all. Evolution is the process of which inheritable traits of biological populations are passed on over successive generations. It is what makes us who we are today. Through this process, animals and plants with traits that enable them to adapt to a change in their environment survive, while others die out. And because of this fact, there were survivors of this mass extinction. A few Temnospondyl species would continue to prosper in isolated regions of the world, safe from competition with newly evolving crocodilians, for another 100 million years. Though the Cynodonts themselves would soon die out, their descendants, true mammals, would live on and thrive in a myriad of forms, relying on their elusiveness to keep them safe from predators. But for the next 160 million years, the rulers of the world would be the dinosaurs. Their tenacity and knack for survival will ensure their dominance over the planet. And from small and humble creatures like Staurikosaurus would come one of the greatest diversities of animal life ever known. They'd evolve into an astounding variety of forms, able to conquer every environment, from frozen forests to scorching deserts, to gliding in the air and swimming in the water, from the weird and wonderful to the deadliest of killers, to the largest animals ever to walk the earth. A new age is upon planet Earth. The age of the dinosaur is about to begin.